Hi, welcome to Clueless Luthier. I'm Mark, and today we're going to start working on the fretboard. Now, we're going to be just doing some things I've never done before. I have never cut the slots on my own fretboard before, and I couldn't justify buying an expensive tool, so we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. But the first thing I have to do, this is not going to be rounded. It's not going to have a radius on it, which is different. And so usually after a radius, you sand it down and you get down to about an 1/8 inch because that's how much binding I have. So I've got to take this down a 1/4 inch. I'm sorry, I misspoke. So I've got to take this down a little bit, and so that's the first task. Okay, what I'm going to do, this is I bought this from StewMac. It's a little miniature planer. It's the only plane I have. And fortunately, this is small enough I can do it in single passes. So it takes, I can't remember exactly how much off each, but very little. So I'm going to fire this up and start taking it down. Okay, I got this just a little proud of a 1/4 inch, which gives me some room to sand and clean it up a little bit. So I'm gonna do that off camera real quick, and then we'll get to cutting the frets. So this is a jig I built. This is sanded to just barely over an 1/8 inch. The reason is there'll be some more sanding being done as well. But this is a jig I built for fretting, and it's really low because this is a very shallow saw. So my plan was, the thickness of this aluminum L channel will prevent me from going all the way through, but that's not my target. It's just extra protection. I set these to be square. I pulled it tight against here and clamped it down. The first thing I'm going to do, this end's a little out of square. So I'm going to, as a test, I'm going to cut it most of the way through using my jig, and then I'll see how it's doing. Whoops. Come on. Cool. The next thing I do, over here I have a computer that I think's out of the picture. I have written down all of my fret measurements from the end, from the nut, and I'm going in millimeters. And so what I'm going to do is start marking these off, and then, so let's see, the first one is 35.64, so some of this is going to be guessing. Where is my visor? Oh, my visor. There we go. This is detail work. Okay, so 35.64, 35.6, about half beyond that, right there. And I'm going to try, I wish I had some, try to get some chalk, but I don't know how that's going to hold up. I'm just going to do a few of these and try it. 69.279, 69, about a third. Okay. So another one. 101 and a very small fraction, so 101. Okay. Now I'm going to take this over to my other guitar with the same scale length and see how it's doing so far before I go too far. Okay, that first measurement was actually off a little bit. I double checked and I did not measure what I said, so I fixed that. Now I'm going to cut these three. Well, first I'm going to cut one. I'm just going to see how this goes. I think that's deep enough. Okay. I'm going to double check this. Before I get too far ahead of myself. So I had to do a little bit of adjustment on this end. Even though when I cut these, I cut them at the same time. This one at the end wandered off a little bit. So I got that fixed. I've also got to make sure I cut the same amount across. That's also a little bit of a challenge because I can't see exactly. Let's try another one here. So I have all the frets cut, placements cut, and what I did, I didn't film this. I didn't worry about the depth as much after a while, because once I have the line cut, then I know where to cut. You've got a slot to start, because it was too hard to see how deep it was while it was in there. So I got them all started, came out, and then I finished up. Well, for now, later on. So now what I'm going to do. What I did, I lined out this line, the outside line. There's two lines here. This is where the eventual width or edge of the fretboard will be, and I've drawn that in. There's another inside line that takes into account the thickness of the binding that I'm going to put on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the bandsaw. I'm going to cut just outside this line. I want to make sure I have plenty of room. The rest I will take off with a hand plane and sandpaper. All right, so there we have it. It's all set, tapered to size, making room for the binding that's going to be on here. The next step is to put my inlay on, and it's one I've been thinking about for a long time. I made it a little while ago, thinking about making this guitar. So I hope to have you come back to watch it. Bye.